Did you see how that said ladder bracelets at the top? Well, I proofed it. I fixed something and I didn't fix that. It's time for wire, my friends, not ladder bracelets, but I'll fix it on the next one. I love that fancy intro. It's kind of fun, right? So, I've got a lot of stuff for you today, so let's get back to it. I feel so fancy when that intro shows up. I've got, good thing I remembered my coffee. Cheers to all of you all. Happy Wednesday. Happy August. It's August 7th already. Wow. We are marching into August and taking no prisoners, my friends. It's going to be a fun month around here at beadshop.com. Let me start off by saying you saw some things at the beginning that I want to do a little bit of an explainer, and then we will get to the masterclass. Now, if you're watching this on replay, thank you so much for the replay, the sharing, for all of it. You can check the timestamps there below the video and bypass all of this chit chat. So you can get right to the heart of the matter. But let me tell all you all what's going on today. So we are doing a special viewer exclusive coupon code. As you know, we do these sometimes. I like to do them sometimes in masterclasses. Just a little thank you. Viewer exclusive coupon code today only, 8-7. Enter wire30 at checkout on beadshop.com and you'll save 30% on all the wire. And I'm going to show you all this wire. I'm even going to show you wire out of my own collection, stuff that we don't carry here at Beadshop, but just so that you know everything about wire for sure. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Let me put on the big official banner for that. Just flash it one more time. So again, wire and memory wire. We've also included memory wire in this. It's valid until tonight, Pacific time on 8/7/24. The other thing I wanted to show you, my friends, is we're doing, as you know, let me see. Can I make this too? No, I can't. So you can just see this and then I'll get back on the screen. I really want to reach 100,000 subscribers here on our Facebook, YouTube. And so we're doing a little giveaway, trying to raise the signal about it. So you know that we love seeing you here on Facebook Live, on Beadshop Live. But did you know you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for replays and over 900, we counted them, 900 inspiring videos. And I know a lot of you do and have already commented, which is great. So we want to get 10,000 more. So it says, help us reach 10,000. It's actually, where am I with proofreading today? We want to hit that 100,000 mark on YouTube. We need about 10,000 more subscribers. And you'll be entered to win a $25 gift card. So let me tell you how. Go ahead and subscribe to beadshop.com on YouTube now. And I know a lot of you are already subscribed. Then what you'll do is you'll leave a comment either in this broadcast in the live comments that you're doing, like you're doing right now, or in the comments below, right? Telling us if you subscribed. You'll get an extra entry, my friends, if you tell us what you love about our live videos. You'll get 2 entries. I just wanted to pop in. Then we'll announce the winner on the third Thursday earring show on 8/15. We're going to collect comments from August 7th through 13th on the August 7th and August 9th Beadshop live shows and all of the replays. And if you're an existing subscriber, that's fine. You can play too. Just let us know that you've already subscribed. So let me tell you, let me do this and let me do this because we're going all out, my friends. I want 100,000. We need about 10,000 more subscribers to hit that mark. So if you can find us on all of our social, of course, Facebook, Insta, Pinterest. We were talking about Pinterest the other day. about all the cool stuff we've got on there. So you can check out our Pinterest boards. Hit that like, subscribe, and notification button right on YouTube, my friends. And we're everywhere on the interwebs at beadshop.com. Questions about any of this, the contest, the whatever you have questions about, hit us up, info@beadshop.com. Okay. I hope that's clear as mud. Let me turn off this banner here. Let's take a look at who is in the chat. Let me put my glasses on so I subscribed. So, Sue, this is exactly what you needed to do. It's perfect. She's subscribed on YouTube and she loves getting new ideas and getting inspired. That's worth 2 entries right there. Okay. So, what we'll do is we're going to go through all the entries. We're going to put all of your names in a big, we have like an automatic thing, put it in, and we're going to pull, we're going to actually do 2 gift certificates, and I'll announce them on the 30, the third Thursday is what I meant to say, earring kit. Okay, so let's go back. Let's see what you all got. Thank you, Margaret. These are some earrings that I had a little bit of time the other week to work in my studio, which was fun. You're welcome, my friend Maureen. We want you to get all that wire we want. I hope to inspire some wire goodness for you. It's great to see you all. Terry, it's great to have you. JP, of course, is here linking on the other side of the screen. We couldn't do it without our JP. And let's see what we've got. My mom is here. It is the face of the sun here in Fresno today. We're going to hit 110. So yes. And Robin, thank you for those kind words, because we go into great detail. I try and do that. I try and get there. Let's see. So let me just go through here. Terry, I sometimes agree with you about Pinterest is where my plans go to die. But you know what? I just look at it as inspiration. I'll be honest. I'm in my late 50s, right? I have a bunch of fabric. I have a bunch of beads. I have a bunch of yarn. I have, I've got a lot of craft supplies. I even have supplies for quilling. I know, crazy. Those supplies are going to outlive me. I am not going to live long enough to use all this crap, right? Not crap, this lovely stuff. Lovely. So think of it as inspiration. It's really okay. So reverse that thinking. It doesn't matter if you abandon them. They're just like pretty things to look at, right? So don't stress, right? Don't stress about it. At least that's what I say. You do you. But I don't want you, don't worry about I am the queen of half finished projects. I've got a pile of them right over there sitting next to Alfred. Hi, Alfie. Alfie says, you brought me on camera the other day, Mama. Why won't you? Let me just move this down. Can you see him? There he is. Alfred, say hello. There he is. Nice big boy. I'm not going to pick him up because I'll get winded. But don't be sad about your unfinished projects. You know what? Every time you take a stitch, bead a bead, I don't know, mold some clay, whatever it is, you further your skill. So just think of them as skill builders, right? That's what I say. Let's see. I love this. Diane, you have so much wire, you could open a hardware store. Well, when I flashed Alfred, you probably saw that box of wire that I'm going to be sharing with you. Alfie, jump up on the stool. You can do it. He's really sitting here like, Mama, bring me up, but I'm not going to fall for that trap. My back is going to give out. Let's see here. Let me make sure we are good to go. And as our buddy, there we are, our buddy Katie Hacker. Katie and I have some plans coming up She's been helping us out with some plans. Oh yeah, here he is. Here he is. She's been helping us out with some plans. So we've got some fun things coming up. So it'll be the Katie Kate show again, which is going to be good times. Okay, well, let's get to the masterclass stuff. This giant cat better not jump on my demo board, but we'll see, right? Oh yeah, what's he? Alfred. Alfred, seriously, what's going on there? I think he's just gonna. Let me make him some room. He's laying on the beads. Okay, all right. What is it? W.C. Fields said, "Never work with kids or pets," and I think he was right. Anyway, all right. I think I've got everybody's stuff here. All right, let's get to it. Let me hit that present or that spotlight. There we go. And let me hide Katie. Katie Hacker, thank you so much for being here again. I am so excited about our upcoming plans. Katie is going to be working on a project. She's doing some things behind the scenes. No, seriously, look, I've got to take him down, but look, do you see him? Do you see his? Come on now. I'm going to have to do it. Sorry. I know you want to get to the wire. I do too. Alfred, this is not okay. Hang on. I've got him. Oh God. Okay. Get down. Good boy. All right. Shoo. Jeez. Sorry about that, everybody. That's ridiculous. Okay. Let's get back to it. So today, my friends, in this masterclass, after all of that hoo-ha, yeah, he wasn't in focus. I think I opened up a literal can of worms with him, putting him on camera last week. He's like, oh, I remember what it's like to be in the spotlight. What a crazy. Again, don't forget, there'll be timestamps, my friends, down at the bottom. So you'll be able to fast forward through the important stuff and bypass all of my chat and and Alfred. So today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about gauge. We're going to talk, that's wire size, right? We're going to talk about temper or the hardness of wire. I'm going to talk all about tools, and then I'm going to show you some wire shapes. Okay, we're going to talk about different wire shapes. We've got 5 episodes in this series. This is episode 1. This is the intro. So this is where I go over those basics. I've got a lot of fun stuff planned for you for the next ones. All right, so good boy. He went to go sit in his chair. So let's start off by talking about gauge and wire size. Okay, let me get rid of all of these tools here for a second. I've got this nice kind of wooden base, but I'm going to put something else underneath it. Hang on. Just so I've got a little bit of some leather there. That looks a little bit better on the eyes. Okay. You know, here at Beadshop, we carry a bunch of different wire. There's a lot of wire out in the world also that we don't carry, right? Some of that I'm going to show you today, some of the stuff that I use personally. But we carry at Beadshop this really great Parawire in a lot of different finishes, right? I love the Parawire as it is very affordable, very durable. The coatings and the coverings on this wire are very stable. It is tarnish resistant, right? Except if it's the bare wire. We also carry bare copper, which can be what do I want to say? Antiqued, right? Or patinaed, right? But all of these have that tarnish resist on there. So we carry a rose gold and a silver. We carry a titanium which is nice. We carry a nice gold, a nice bright gold, a what they call vintage bronze right here. We carry, that's the vintage bronze. Where is here it is, the antique copper. And here's the regular copper. Okay. So that's all of it. Maybe I'll put the rose gold down there. That's good. Okay. So you've got a lot of color variety here, and we carry it from 14 gauge or 16 gauge, apologies, 16 gauge all the way down to 28 gauge. Okay. So there's a variety of gauge sizes and stuff. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about gauge and what the difference is and why you'd use what. But that's that. Okay. I'm going to come back at the end and we're going to talk a little bit about some other different shapes and stuff. But people always they ask me, well, Kate, what wire should I have? Right? What wire should I, what wire should I have in my stash? And to be honest, I think it depends on how you like working with wire. Do you do a lot of wire wrapping? Well, if you do, then I might get the gauges. If you're just wire wrapping, maybe 20, 22, 24, 26. Those are the ones that are probably used the most, I'm thinking. If you do things like that you want to stand on their own, right? Like this ring. Remember I did this ring project a while back. I think this is 24 gauge. But I also use a lot of like 18 gauge. 18 gauge is great for jump rings. 16 gauge, things that are a little bit heavier. This is 20 actually right here. This is the 18 right here. So it really just depends on what you're using the wire for. I'm looking on the back end here for something, so bear with me here just a second. For gauge, for sizes, there we go. For gauge, when we talk about gauge equals the size of wire, right? So here in the US, we use gauge, okay, as the notation. All over the rest of the world, they really use millimeters for wire. Okay, so I want to show you a couple of ways that you can measure, because also sometimes the gauge of your wire, it'll say like 26 gauge, right on there. But when they make this wire, because it's made by machine, but sometimes there's a little bit of variance in these. Okay. So yeah, this is the repeat of the antique bronze. Sorry, let me take that out. I put 2 in there. So here it all is right there. Titanium, silver, gold, vintage bronze, antique copper, regular copper, and rose gold. Okay, there we go. So we also carry a tool. This is what's called a pocket wire gauge right here. And the pocket wire gauge is really super handy. It'll help you, like if you have like random wire on your table and you're like, I don't know what that is. Having a pocket wire gauge really helps you to figure out what wire is what. So on here, this middle is the gauge right here. Okay. And then you have fractions of millimeters and inches. And so let's take a look, for instance, let's go to the 20 gauge and let's use this pocket wire gauge. I want to get let me go to 18. Okay. You can also use this to identify sheet as well, besides wire. Let me click back here so you can see this. Let me zoom in on this. Sorry, I'm trying to keep an eye on on comments and everything. So I'm going to go back through and check the comments. Can you see the notations on there? They're kind of hard to see because they're not darkened. Okay. So let me see here. Let me get the 18 gauge. The 18 gauge, I know this is 18. So I'm going to, if I go to the 20, see how it doesn't fit? But if I go to that's the 20, it doesn't fit. But if I go to the 18, you can see it fits, whoops, it fits right in there. Kind of hard to see, but I can see that the wire is snug in there. That's how you know it fits, okay? So if you go to the 16 gauge, which is here, you can see it slides in too much, okay? So this 18 gauge right here, it's perfect. It fits right in there with no gap on either side, okay? So if this is 18 gauge, let's measure it in millimeters and point and fractions of an inch. Okay, so there's my wire. Let me go ahead. This is another super handy tool. You know, the caliper right here, the digital caliper that I've got here. So in millimeters, this 20 gauge is 0.5 millimeters right there. And in inches, whoops, no, I didn't want to zero it out. Sorry, wrong one. There we go. Is that, yeah. There we go, in millimeters, and then it goes to inches. Can you see that? And you can toggle back and forth, right? So let me re-zero. That's the inch mark. That's the millimeter, okay? And this is 18 gauge, okay? So that'll kind of help you to, you know, to figure things out as well. Here is 24 gauge. Let's look at that in millimeters. 24 gauge. You want to make sure it's nice and straight right there. You can see that right there, 0.5. And then in inches, 0.01 inches. Okay. So there it is in millimeters. So mostly though, you see it in millimeters and in gauge. And you can find charts if you Google you know, you can Google it and find good gauge to millimeter. And also you can just type it right into Google. Exactly, Janice. You can, if you have the millimeter, you can just type in millimeters to gauge and plug it right in. So yeah, it's very handy, right? Yeah, and a lot of different pages have them, and you can just print out a chart and get it done. Yeah, we carry this nice one from Beadsmith. It works out really well, easy, and really easy to change the battery out as well. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to cut a variety of wires here. This is 18. This is 20 gauge right here. I just want you to take a look at these. Okay, I'm going to cut some 22 gauge, which I think this is. And I say in the description, you know, wire really is my spirit animal. I love wire. And the more that you practice and play with your wire, the better you're going to get at wire wrapping. What you see me do here on this series, I make it look really easy. 24 gauge is there. Let me get some 26 as well. This is 26, I think. Yeah. I really do make it look easy. Right? There's the 26 right there. I think I've got some. This is 28 right here. And that's good. Okay. So here's all this business, right? And so what I do the first time, like when I'm trying to decide what bead or what wire I'm going to use for wire wrapping, like let me get some semi-precious beads out here, because sometimes, and you've heard me say this before, but let's do some experimenting. I've got that carved one. You remember these carved gemstones. These are the ones that can be the most persnickety, right? Glass beads usually have some pretty large holes. Let me get a pearl. Look, I've got, remember when I had the Tahitian pearls? I'll have those again. There's a Tahitian pearl that we'll look at. I know, crazy, right? Let's also get some seed beads in here and take a look at these guys. Here's a variety of seed beads from one of our mixes. Let's take a look at that. Here, a cube. That'll have a tiny hole. These guys. Let me get a couple more things. Cube. A couple of cubes there. And maybe, do I have some? I've got some, a regular briolette. Look at that. And how about, just for fun, some Matubos and drops. And I need some check glass. Where is it? Where'd my check glass go? Let's do that. Here's one of those hearts. That's a good average size. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going to fit in what. Okay, let's play that game. And what you can do for this is, like when I used to do a lot of bead shopping, especially for our in-person store, what I made, and I maybe when I clean this place up, I'll come to it. But what I did was I got a little piece of tape like this, and I wrote on my gauges. So like this right here, let's make our little thing. This is 18. Let me get a pen. Rustle. Let's see. This should work. This is 18 gauge. Okay. And I just have my little piece of tape and my little gauges. I know, cleaning, right? This one was 20. I'm going to go grab some 16 too. Apologies. I thought I had it sitting here. This is 16. Let me get that tape. It'll also be easier as a visual for you to see. 16. This is 22. No, that's not 16. Okay, that's 20. I'll just cross it out, but I'll change it. This is 22. That's not 16 gauge. Then what I did was I wire wrapped the ends and put them all on a ring. That's 22. 24. I think that's 26. Yeah, that one's 26, and that is 28. Okay. Let me go grab some 16 gauge as well. 16 gauge I use quite a bit to make jump rings, larger jump rings. It's a heavy gauge, so also you want to think about the heavier the gauge that you're using, the less pliable it is as well. Does that make sense? So there's some 26 here, and there's some 28. Great. Okay, so the less pliable that it becomes, I'm going to talk about temper in a second as well. But let me get this organized. Here, there's so much wire and stuff. I'm kind of all over the place. So bear with me here just a second. Let me fix all of this. You can get little stickers and stuff that are a little nicer looking than this. This one got smeared. I don't like it. So let me just make sure this is right. Here's 22 gauge. So I'm going to cut a piece of that. Let's make this. That one's 22. Go over there. This one is 24. Let me find some 24 gauge. I just want to make sure it's correct. So I don't send you astray when I put the wires through things. You could also print these out on your label maker and make it look all professional, which I could have done, but I didn't really overly prepare. Here's 26 in the rose gold. Let's get this. We haven't used the rose gold as much. Let's get 26, and then I'll clean all this up so it won't be such a mess. Okay. 26 gauge is here. And then, again, what I do is I wire wrap everything on the end and put them all on a ring. It's super helpful. I had one for years. I think I made it back when I had my store. Maybe it's in my studio. I don't know. It's around somewhere. I'll just have to make another one. This is 28. 28's pretty skinny. This is 28 gauge right here. 28 gauge. Okay, so let me corral all this wire over. Okay. Now all of this Parawire that we're looking at is dead soft wire. Okay. Wire comes in dead soft, half hard. Oh, thanks, JP. I kind of forgot about that. So, of course, I'm using it. Yep, the rose gold actually is going the way of the dodo. It's not a super big seller, but we can always get it for you. But thank you, JP, for reminding me. Apologies on that. So let's just pretend that that's copper, shall we? Here's 16 gauge right here. So when I say, let me get a little list here. When I say things are dead soft, look at that's not a pretty piece of paper. Hang on. There we go. So when I say temper, temper equals the hardness of wire or metal. like metal sheet or whatever. Okay. So we've got dead soft. We've got half hard, and we've got full hard. Full hard usually is like metal sheet temper. Like, for instance, if I were cutting out like my earrings that are here, okay, if this sheet, if I'm cutting these out and I'm sawing them, or I'm cutting them out using like a pancake die, or, and I know some of this is going over your heads, but if I'm using a pancake die, it's kind of like a cookie cutter for metal that helps me cut the metal shape out of a sheet, right? If my metal is soft, that metal is going to get stuck in the little cookie cutter in the die, right? So full hard, or sometimes it's called spring hard. That's really the same thing. That means that the metal is super stiff, so you can just chomp right through it without the metal getting bogged down. Okay, so again, we see that mostly in sheet. Half hard I use very often to make ear wires like this, right? When I make ear wires, and here's like my little ear wire drawing, right? If I make ear wires out of half hard wire, I don't have to do too much to temper or work harden these. I'm going to do a whole series of findings out of wire, right? And we're going to take our metal from dead soft to half hard so that the ear wire, or whatever it is that you make, retains its shape. See how if I kind of flick it with my thumbnail, see how that doesn't move, right? But if I have dead soft wire, where's the 20 gauge? Because 20 gauge is what I use. See how, well, this is actually fairly hard wire here. And this is I think this is the titanium. But if I here's the bare copper. Or let me get a 20 gauge here in something. Yeah, that's the titanium. And you can see though, when it's on the spool, can you see how that's pretty soft, right? The way that you harden metals, anytime that you do something to the metal, hammer it, even cutting it, straightening it with a straightening plier, though that all tempers your wire or hardens the wire so it moves from the dead soft realm into the half hard realm. So getting back to the ear wire analogy, anytime I make something out of wire that I don't want to have to hammer or work harden in any way, so it starts out half hard and ends up half hard, I'll do that. I'll use it for ear wires sometimes. I will, I'll use it sometimes for just hooks. Anything that's an armature that I don't want to have to do too much to, and I want it to retain that shape. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Now, this is a good question. So let me talk about this for a second. Okay. So when you temper, do I prefer a tumbler or by hand or with a hammer? That's an excellent question. This is going a little further, but I want to address it now. Hammering, when we hammer, we use our bench block and we use our chasing hammer, which crash. I think I've got it right here. As I said, whenever you work harden a piece of metal or wire, let's see it here. I think it's across, but you've seen me do that before, and we're going to do it a lot in future episodes. But anytime I hammer, right? Hammer, or use my wire straightener like this, I am actually tempering and work hardening the metal, okay? When you put your piece in a tumbler, what happens there, in a tumbler, for those of you who aren't familiar, we do use that a lot in metalsmithing, right? Tumbler, you have some kind of tumbling agent, whether it's like a pumice or it's a metal shot. You put your metal pieces in the tumbler and it'll polish, and it doesn't work harden. What it does is case harden. Okay, so let me show you what that means. Case hardening, and this is getting kind of deep in there, but I think it's worth understanding. So let's say that this is your piece of wire or your piece of sheet or whatever, right? And whatever the top, let's just say that this is, a scant portion of a millimeter on the outside, right? The pieces from the tumbler like this, however they're shaped, sometimes they're little points, sometimes they're kind of little chiseled off points that look like that, whatever, okay? When this is tumbling, whatever that tumbling media is, right? It gets, the metal gets tumbled around in the tumbler and it gets hardened, but only the very outside or the case becomes hardened. Does that make sense? All right. But when you hammer, if this is your same piece of wire and we're looking at it on a microscopic level, the crystals or the molecules, sometimes we call them a microcrystalline structure, right? When you hammer on, this is my little drawing of a chasing hammer. Can you see that on there? When you hammer onto that wire or hammer onto that sheet, what you're doing is you're hardening the wire by packing those crystals in super tight so it hardens, right? So the temper or hardness of this is usually about half hard. You can still move. Oh, I put the earring back in my ear. You can still kind of see that the wire can move, right? It has some bounce to it, but it stays like this curve and everything. This is hard, half hard, right? It's going to stay in its shape. So I hope that makes sense. All right. So this is case hard from tumbling. This is half hard from hammering. Okay. Hammering. Okay. I hope that makes some sense. Then what we do when we want to soften our wire, and we're going to do this sometime with the torch, we call it annealing. So if your ear wire, let's say, has been hammered like this, you've hammered this section of your ear wire right here. Okay. Hammer, 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 hammer. You've work hardened this section right here. Okay. If you hammer or work harden your wire too much, let me get my wire back on. And you've all seen this, right? If you've been playing like with your desk supplies or whatever, and you're fiddling around with the paper clip and you untwist the paper clip, right? And then you kind of twist the paper clip back up, and all of a sudden what happens is your wire breaks like that, right? That's because I've hardened this piece of wire beyond, I've gone full hard, and I've broken the bonds, right? So a lot of times, that is to say, let me make that. Let me go back to the earring here. And this will help, I think, the explanation. This is a piece that I worked in my hydraulic press, right? And I used a vintage die. I'll show you how that works. Exactly, Margaret. It makes it brittle. It makes it brittle and it breaks, right? So this sheet, this happens to be 22 gauge, I think, right here, right? I put it down. What happens is my hydraulic press comes down. I've got some urethane in here. In the die, there's this same shape of this anatomical heart. The metal goes down into that die, presses in, and the shape from that die is transferred on this metal. Okay? If this metal is stiff, half hard, or spring hard, if I try and compact it in that press, I'm going to have breakage around this image, right? So I have to come in and anneal. And how I soften that is I usually do it by heat. You can do it with a torch, or you can do it in a kiln or an oven, right? Like that, if that makes sense. So I continue. So it goes back and forth from work hardening, harden, work harden, work harden, work harden, to, not to like a half hard state. Then I go to anneal to soften. So if I'm trying to forge my wire, okay, forging is another word for shaping or forming. I feel like I need a whiteboard here, right? Let me cut off a piece of this wire that I've got here. This will illustrate it pretty well. And again, we're going to do a lot of shaping and hammering and stuff that I'm not going to go over today. But this gauge, let me tell you what this is. I have no idea. This is from my personal collection. This is 12. It's not 14. It's not quite 12. It's not quite 10. Can you see that? So I'd call this like 11 gauge right here. Okay. This I use a lot for like stacking rings, other like metalsmithing types of things, right? Skinny bangles, you can use this. This is I'm going to say it's 11 gauge because it doesn't really fit in that 12. Can you see that there? And it's way too big for that 10. So let me put a piece of tape on this. And let's call this 11. This wire I used to get a bunch of my wire from like an industrial wire place in San Francisco. It's where I got a lot of my copper. So they make this to spec, right? And it can go up or down. There's a little bit of tolerance for that spec. So, so I'm going to say this is 11 gauge. In reality, I'd probably call it 12, right? But for accuracy, let's call it 11. So when I forge, let's say that I'm forging this wire, right? I want to flatten it for whatever reason, right? Like let's say that I formed this wire into a ring, right? I want to make a stacking ring or a ring shank with something like this, right? See how here, even with my hands, shaping this piece with my hands, it's tough, right? It's stiff here. So what I would do right off the bat, if I'm working with this, is I'd take it to my torch, to my butane torch, and I'd anneal it, which means I'd heat it. I'd heat it to a dull red glow, right? Hold it for a moment, take the torch away, and then quench my metal. Okay? That softens. What happens is that the molecules on the molecules, the microcrystalline structure of the wire or the metal, they take that structure from being very organized to very disorganized, right? So it softens it. And as you apply some type of pressure, hammer, hydraulic press, wire straightener, bending back and forth, however you're moving it, you're starting to line those crystals in the metal up like this, okay? So then that starts to work harden, work harden, work harden, and then you take it back and you anneal, okay? I hope that makes some sense. I know we're going into it pretty deep, but I think it's helpful. You don't often have a discussion kind of like this, so I think it's valid. So something like this with my hydraulic press, and those of you who follow me on my socials, on my Kate Richburg socials, see I use a lot of stuff from my buddy Kevin Potter over in Tucson. He does a lot. He makes hydraulic presses. He makes smaller presses. He rescues old vintage dies. This is an old vintage anatomical heart die that I have. That's one of my favorites. This is an eye that I've set a stone into. These are all dies that have come from the beginning of the last century, the 1900s, or some even come from the mid to late 1800s. Some of the things he has that's from France and Italy and stuff like that. Anyway, you can find him at Potter USA. You can join their Facebook group. There's a whole great ton of information there. But for something like this, when I really have to move this metal, I mean, see how much the metal has bowed and moved there, pushed out, right? So I have to anneal, strike the metal, right? Which hardens it. Maybe I strike it twice, then anneal again, then shape, anneal, shape. Those of you who have also seen me do my metal beads, stuff like that, if you go on my Kate Richburg YouTube, there's a lot of metal content there where I make beads, stuff like that. And it's really striking the balance between hardening and annealing, work hardening and annealing the metal. On a smaller scale, when we make ear wires, we're going to play around with that temper. So we make ear wires, we'll make clasps, things like that, that hold their temper. I'll have a torch that day and we'll talk a little bit about annealing and what we do there. And yeah, Kevin's made me several dies. I did some designing for him. They're a good crew over there. They also have on staff some really fantastic metalsmiths. One, Annie Pennington, she used to be the editor of Wired Jewelry magazine, an extremely gifted metalsmith. But everybody is so knowledgeable. Thank you, Janice, for putting that over there. He really is a jeweler of the old school. So you'll learn a lot over there. He's a terrific guy. Okay, so that talks about temper and gauge. Okay, I want to talk to you. Let me jump forward. I want to show you some wire shapes, and then we're going to end with tools. Okay, so in my personal collection, and this is just going to be kind of a fast and furious kind of chat about this. And this is super heavy gauge wire, okay? But you'll be able to see the shape. There is wire, like square wire. Can you see that? That's super heavy. I'm not even going to cut this. This is from this I would have to saw. Can you hear all this rustling? Rustle, rustle. This wire here, that I'm lucky to show you. Come on. Is triangular wire. Crash. Sorry about that. Whew. There's a triangular. Oh, and thank you, Janice, for that. I will answer that. Thank you for reminding me. I can star those questions now, where I can go back. So yes, I've got it in my starred question list. Can you see how this is a rectangle. You can kind of see it on the side view, but it's a little munched here. But this is triangular wire. This is square wire. Wire also comes in half round, which I use a lot for ring bands. I don't have, let me grab that over here. Let's say I've got a ring here that I've made. Let's look at that one, and let's look at this one. This is a better one. These are cast, but it illustrates the point. Okay, these guys here. All right, so these shaped wires also come in gauge. Okay, so half round. Let's look at half round. Okay. Half round can come in high dome or low dome. Okay, that would be like a high dome. Low dome is more like this. Okay. Half round you can also use in smaller gauges, like for ring shanks. This would be a heavier gauge, like maybe an 8 gauge, maybe a 6 gauge, right? Skinnier or smaller half round like this, maybe it's smaller like so, right? We use that a lot if we are wire wrapping like a stone that doesn't have a hole and you need like a flat contact surface over your piece, right? If that makes sense. But like for instance, this ring, this is cast, but let's say I was fabricating this ring instead of having it cast. The back of this ring shank, can you see how it's kind of a low dome? It's like it's a half round right here. Okay, something like this, though this is also kind of low dome. But if you're making a ring shank maybe that bubbles out a little bit more, maybe you'd use high dome. Okay, those are all kind of in the metalsmithing world. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. But again, these have been cast, but you can also fabricate them from scratch. There's another type of like this half wire. This is triangular wire. So what it is it's a triangle like this, right? And you see a lot of this stuff is like bending rebar. It is a flippin' nightmare. But you see a lot of really beautiful Native American type bracelets made out of triangle wire. The triangle wire, usually triangle wire is noted by millimeters. Usually, a lot different people use different measurements to describe this. So sometimes it's gauge, sometimes it's millimeter. Essentially, what this is used for a lot of times is you would stamp a design on the side. Maybe there's some kind of, using kind of that Native American stamp. The Navajo silversmiths use this. It's very beautiful. And you anneal this often. You stamp and then you shape, and shaping this into a curve again with this flat surface. It's like twisting rebar. It's crazy. Okay. You can get triangle wire in smaller gauges, but I don't see it that often. And now a lot of the metals manufacturers, we've lost a couple of big ones just even this year, right? So it's a little bit harder to find metal shape. But can you see there's the top? It's kind of hard. I'm trying to bring it underneath, but there's the top of that triangle. Okay. And they make special like blocks to stamp these in and stuff like that. It's fun to use. This is nickel silver, which is not fun. Nickel silver is very tough. But it's fun to experiment. But again, anneal, because this is very hard to shape. And because just by the fact that it's been shaped, it comes out very hard, this metal. Now, let's talk about square wire. Square wire is kind of my nemesis a little bit, only because I don't love square wire. I love some of the results that you get with it, but I don't use it a lot, to be honest. Square wire is just that. It's square. All right. And I do use it a lot if I'm making ring bands, or if I forge this a lot. I shape a lot with square wire. This one is real big. This is a 10 gauge in square, but small square wire looks just the same. You see it a lot in cabochons that are free-form wrapped, right? Like you've got your square wire around the side like this, and then it has binding wire, right? You bind it around the sides, and then there's some kind of a bail up at the top, and maybe you've got some swirly business going there, and then there's another side bail, right? Does that look familiar to you? This you'd probably use like 22 gauge square, maybe 20 square. It just depends on what your stone looks like, on a lot of different factors. You can kind of experiment. Oh, I also wanted to show you this half round. For this ring shank, when I built this like this, you can also use a half round for that, right? And yeah, Kim, it is great. It's great for wire wrapping cabs because you have that flat contact point, just like you would with half round. I am not, and I'm going to show you at a later date doing some wire wrapping with things that don't have holes. I am not super skilled at it, so a lot of you are probably much better at it than I am, but it's out there. And yeah, it's like I see you folks have used it before, and that's awesome. So somewhere in this range is good. And yes, twisting square wire, I do that a lot, and I have a demo. I'm trying to see if I think all of that twisted wire is at my studio, but I do a class where I use this wire and we heat it. We put it in a clamp and we twist. It's a blacksmithing forging technique. And with the square wire, you get a lot of great twists and stuff. I've used that twisted wire to make components as well. It's really awesome. If you look on my personal Kate Richburg YouTube, and maybe when we make components, I'll show you, because we are carrying the torches. We're carrying my torch of choice with that. So it's a lot of fun to do this twist. I make bangles with it, all kinds of cool stuff. I did it at one of our bead retreats once. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so so let me make sure. So that's Gage. We've talked about Gage. I want to talk to you a little bit about what goes through the beads. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so here's some seed beads. Oh, and there was that question. Let me go back to that question right there. Robin had a question about case hard, which is stiffer, case hard or half hard. True half hard that's been forged, Robin, is stiffer, because case hardening, it's just hardened on the outside, and then on the inside you still have dead soft wire. Okay, so that's why tumbling, or putting your ear wires in the tumbler to harden them, which I do a lot of times, though it's really just case hardened. The wire is still soft inside. But for something light like an ear wire, that's fine. If I'm making a cuff, let's say, or something big that really has to retain its shape, I want to forge it first, shape it first, then I can throw it in the tumbler to continue that case hardening. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Here's our wire code. I'll give you that while I set this up. Let's take a look at this 6mm fire polish. We're going to look at that Miyuki pearl. We're going to look at this 8/0 bead here. We're going to look at an 11/0. I'll have to grab one out of the thing. We're going to look at we're going to look at this pearl, this skinny one, this drop, and that long megatama. Okay. Let me go back to the comments here. Okay, hopefully that's helping. Let me get an 11/0. Do I have an 11/0 in here? Let me grab a tube. And, you know, I always say, if you're having like a not so great design day, let's say, right? I get those all the flipping time, it seems like, right? Working in my studio, and I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, right? You can just play around, right? Play around with your wire, you know, just further your education. Have an education day instead of a making day, right? Oh, and thank you, Robin. Let me flash that banner again here about how we're going out for subscribers, right? So we want to get 10,000 more subscribers. We want to reach that $100,000 mark, and we're giving away some gift cards. So subscribe to Beadshop.com on YouTube. Do that now. And then put it in the comments somewhere, either in the live chat comments or in the comments below the video. And we're going to collect those comments from August 7th through the 13th of 2024. And then on the live shows and the replays, then I'm going to announce the winner on the third Thursday earring show. And for a second opportunity to win, you can add what it is that you love about Beadshop videos. Okay. So, Kim, I think you're asking what category or what temper they are. Most of our wire is dead soft. Okay. That should, that's what most of them are, dead soft. Okay. So this wire, let me focus here. Focus. Yeah. So just comment subscribed. And as long as we see that comment that you've subscribed, oh, on the website, it should be, I'll tell you, this doesn't really want to focus for me right now. Hang on. If you go to beadshop.com, you go to, I want to tell you the right path. You go under shop, you go under components and findings. Right there on the top row is all of our wire. Okay. Right there. Okay, so here is my 18 gauge piece of wire. This is a Miyuki pearl, and 18 goes on that Miyuki pearl very nicely. It goes on that 3mm cube. So you know that if 18 gauge fits, everything below it in gauge, remember the higher the number, the thinner the wire, everything below it will fit. Okay, so when I test it, I try and find the largest wire, okay, and then I go down. So there's that. This long megatama fits in that 18 gauge. Let's see if it fits in the 16. Let me go up because that megatama, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, the long megatamas fit on the 16. Let's see if it fits. Yep, the cube fits on the 16. And the Miyuki pearl also fits on the 16. Great. Okay. So these are they with those right there. Okay. Let's go down. Now we're getting, let's do the 8-aught. Let's see if it fits on the 18 gauge. It fits on there, but it will break. Whoops. And there that went. I need to grab another 8-aught. And I'm forgetting about 6-aughts. Let me grab a 6-aught too. Hang on. I've got some 6-aughts right. Let's put those 6-aughts on this 16 gauge. 6-aughts also fit on 16, which is great. Okay, there we go. So let's move down to 20 and see what fits in my 20 gauge. Here's my 20. Here's all my little wire bits here. Here's 22, all these guys. Okay. Here's 20 gauge. 8-aught fits great on the 20. Let's check the 11. The 20 gauge also fits with the 11-aught. And these are Miyuki. These are Japanese Miyuki. Okay, so the hole sizes are very, very large on these. Okay, so that works. 20 gauge also goes through this 6mm fire polish. Okay, there's that. Here is the pearl. Now this Tahitian pearl right here, okay, this fits on 20. Regular freshwater pearls like this one that I've got here are probably better for 22 gauge. Let's see. This one's 22 gauge. No, sorry, this is 26 gauge. What am I thinking? Where's the 22? Here it is. 22 gauge. See, it's a little tight right there. Okay. Here's 24. And I can check on that too, Janice. That question for Carrie. It is, the shipping's all based on weight. You should be able to choose the first class option unless you've ordered over a pound or a pound and a half or something of wire, because it is all based on weight. Yeah. So sorry about that. You'll automatically get that priority upgrade. Apologies. So there's that. Yeah, the we may get some Tahitian though back in. Why isn't this focusing? Let me try this again here. Bear with me here. We go all the way out and back in. There we are. That's better. Okay. So things like these semi-precious. Let's take a look. Something like these carved ones here. 26 is really the way to go, right, for things like this. This one I could get on the 24. Here's the 24 gauge. And this fits fine as long as, and this is my test, right? If I have a semi-precious piece that I'm wire wrapping and I put it on the wire and it doesn't have movement like this, then it's a no-go, right? If the wire is super stiff, like let's even do this 22 gauge. These were really nice quality. So the hole sizes in these were pretty good. I mean, look at this. It still does that swing test on the 22 gauge. Okay. So that's good. Let's go to 20 and see if this fits. Put it next to that Tahitian. See, 20, not so much. I could force it, but I don't want to. If I force, I push it and it'll break, right? So no go. Let's go with like this briolette. Let's put the brio on the 24. Yep. Swings around. Perfect. Perfectly, right? Cube. Twist. Fits perfectly, right? Let's move that cube. Let's check it with the 22. Still works perfectly. Let's check this brio with the 20. Oh no, it's 26. Let's do this. This is the 22. See, it fits, but it doesn't really swing. So that's a no-go. Let's do this one. Yeah, no, and this swings on there ish. Yeah, see, it's tight. It doesn't have a lot of freedom of movement. So this is a no-go for me. 24 gauge for those. Let's do this Miyuki drop. Okay, remember our drops. This Miyuki drop should fit very easily. Yes, on 24. Let's go to 22. Yep, fits great on there. Let's check 20. The one with the Tahitian. Even fits perfectly on that 20 gauge, right? Miyuki drop. Let's check this. I'm going to take this Tahitian off of there. Sit there, Tahitian. Here's this check glass heart. Fits beautifully on this 20. Okay. Great. Let's check it on the 18 for fun. It's a little tight. I'll say no on that. So even when you're not having a particularly maybe great creative day, this is a great exercise to kind of further your bead knowledge. Go to bead school, right? Go to wire school. Make yourself, pull some of your favorite beads that you always use, right? Make your little wire flags. I'm going to do this so you can screenshot it. Make your little wire flags and play around with what works for you. Okay, here's 28 gauge. 28 is nice and thin, super thin. I'll use it for the tiniest of gemstones. I could use it for brios, but if this briolette fits on a 26 is a better match for it, in my opinion. Here's the 28. I do have, let me see, I ran across it when I was cleaning. Do I have them sitting here? Yeah, let me show you this. This is a something that I'm making for myself, right? Let me show you this. Maybe someday I'll get it done. I should try. This project is like 1 billion years old too. So, but maybe I should try and get some of these for you. These are cubic zirconia bead caps that have some, I think they're in sterling and CZ. Let me see if I can focus these. Now I'm just teasing you because these I don't have, but maybe, right? And then I'm wire wrapping them. These are maybe green garnet or some kind of topaz or whatever, right? That is 28 gauge. These tiny, tiny gemstones. I think I haven't picked this back up because my eyes will rebel, but I have it all in a baggie. I really should finish them because look at how gorgeous they are, right? This is what 28 gauge does best, right? Those really skinny, beautiful high-end gemstones that we get from India, okay? 28 gauge would be what you want for those, okay? So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, I'm going to put these together somehow. If I can find them. I don't see these as much as I used to, but I might find some of these. But they're fun, right? So that's what we use 28 for. And that is true, Margaret. Thin wire like 28 gauge, if you squeeze it too tightly with your tool, you're, out of luck, right? So, yeah, it is delicate. So you need to use a very, very light touch with this. Okay. Yes, and Carrie, you are good. You've commented and you've subscribed and you've talked about what you've liked, so that gives you 2 entries. You're good. We're going to read all the comments because it'll also make us feel good. Let's talk really quick, you guys, about tools. We're going to talk about tools almost in every segment. So I just want to go over this. I'm going to put my little wires over here. Right, I'm going to put these to the side. Let me get all of these little beads out of here too. So hopefully that helped. But yeah, audition your bead. Okay, that'll really help, because not all beads, even if they're from the same strand, they're not always created equal, especially if they're hand drilled stones, right? They may vary. Okay. So let me toss some tools on the table for you. Whoops. Hang on. I'm averting disaster here. Hang on a second. There we go. My table. My table over here moved, and I want to make sure I've got so much on this table. I don't want it to fall over. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let me just lay some tools here in front of you. Round nose. Rosary plier, round nose. Chain nose. Bent chain nose. 90-degree chain nose pliers. I sound like Harlan Pfeffer in, what is that, Best in Show? Harlan Pfeffer, stop naming nuts. Well, I'm naming pliers. I don't know. If you know, you know. So these, let's do this round first. Okay. Loopers, round and rosary. Rosary plier has a cutter in it. Loopers. We're going to talk about this, right? How to make loops. We're going to actually make loops and stuff. We're going to do that in our next one. So I'm just going to show you these, and then we'll talk about how they're used next time. So these are for looping. Round. Round is for looping. Flat chain nose, either regular chain or bent chain. Sometimes these are also called needle nose, right? Oh, JP, enjoy your massage. That's awesome. These are for gripping and bending. 90-degree, 45-degree bent, and regular chain nose. Okay. Rounding, gripping. We'll talk about that. Here are cutters. Maxi shear. This is a semi-flush. This is a flush that has a retaining mechanism in it so your wire doesn't go flying. And these are, I just had them in my hand, and memory wire cutters. Okay. You remember that piece of square wire that I had earlier? That big fat piece, or that big fat piece of 11 gauge? This is for memory wire, but it also flies through that 11 gauge like butter. Okay. We carry this. These are all Xuron cutters. This is a workhorse tool. This is a must-have. This one is the wire, has the wire retainer. So when you cut your wire, it hangs onto it so it doesn't fly. Okay. This is the maxi shear. And again, you want to cut dead soft with it, but heavier gauge wires for this slides through very, very easily. Okay. And again, it's semi-flush. It's almost true flush, but it leaves just the tiniest bit of burr, but you can hardly see it. Okay. A little file will take care of that. So cutters, you need some cutters. Then there's some other specialty tools that I'm going to talk about as we go through things here that we carry at Beadshop. Snub nose, chisel nose. We also carry parallel pliers, which I'm going to talk about. Those are parallel chain nose. Yes, never use any of these on stainless steel. These are for non-ferrous, dead soft to half-hard metals only. Okay. We're going to talk about this 6-step round nose, which is very helpful. And of course, the wire straightening tool. Okay. So those are some of the basic tools I've got in my arsenal pliers that I've got. So we're going to touch more on these as we go through the steps. I don't carry cut burrs, Terry. Probably best place to get those. Those are like great for rounding wire on the ends. I have some, but we don't really carry them here. We may add them in, right? This 6-step is really great. We're going to talk a lot about this when we make our own findings. But cup burrs, what they are is a little cup on the end of a mandrel. We use it in our Dremel or in our flex shaft. There's little tiny bits of like abrasive or little burrs on the inside that when it's whirred around, it rounds or softens the end of wires. So we use that cup burr to like at the end of ear wires, stuff like that. So it's great. Yes. So let me see. Yes, Margaret, parallel pliers. I use these a lot when I'm crimping transitions. I do that, and it's not really off topic because it's a good way for the plier. See, if this is the plier here, see the action of this parallel, how it's parallel. It comes down just straight down and crimps. So things that are heavy, like heavier crimps, this is perfect for it. And this is the chain nose with that. It's a great tool, these parallel pliers. Half hard wire, Gina, I use our maxi shear for our half hard. And it's great with half hard. With your memory wire, you want to go with this, the memory wire cutter. Okay. But this works with half hard, works with, like here's this 11. I'll show you this 11 gauge. It also cuts straight through that. Did you see that? And it's fine. There's no damage to this. This is super dead soft 11 gauge. So, yeah, right. But this, and I don't have any memory wire here, but all stainless steel wires, I use this one. I use this Xuron because it's a cross lock. So see how it comes? I'll show you. We'll cut it here. I'm going to kind of hold it so it doesn't fly in my face, but it'll snap through that stainless steel wire, baling wire, binding wire, memory wire. This is the tool for that. Okay. Also, good tip, Terry, those parallel pliers are not for teeny hands. They are sturdy and substantial. 100% they are. Okay. So I hope, beading wire. Kim, thank you for that. I had some sitting right here. I've got soft flex right here. This soft flex, I also use my max shear. See how that cuts it through? The thing about these, and I'll talk about them some more, but it's hard to see, and I think it's in the description as well, but you can see that one side there, it's a cutting, it's a parallel shear action. So the way that these cut, they're flat, but one side is slightly higher than the other, and they shear across that way. That's what makes them so good for this soft flex. Okay. And when I'm cutting soft flex, I cut towards the back of the tool rather than with, there we go, rather than with the tip. Okay. I can cut it with the tip and it cuts fine, but the tips are thinner, right? So anything that I want a little more oomph behind, I'll cut in the center of the tool. Okay, that's good. What gauge would I use for wire crochet? Sharon, I would use 26 and 28. 24 is a little stiff. Wire crochet, I'd use dead soft in 26. Check it, see how you like it. And 28. Okay. And you know, cutters, we ruin our cutters. We just do, right? Because they're a workhorse. They get a lot of use. These max shear, there's a little bit of damage right down there to this. I'll talk about later in a show. Don't let me forget it. I will talk a little bit about deburring your pliers, redressing them. Okay. If you have a good knife sharpener in your town, sometimes farmers markets have your knife sharpeners. They can rehone the heads of these, but I'll talk about that too. There's some specialty stuff that we can do that. Okay. So I'll share that with you. Let me put that on which episode. I'll do that, I think, on making your own findings. I will put that under altering and fixing cutters and pliers. Okay. I'll put that there. So that'll come up in episode 3. Okay. I just wrote it on the notes so I wouldn't forget. Okay. Okay. I hope I got all the questions, right? I hope I got you all. That was a lot of info. I don't want to throw too much at you, but you can watch this. This will be in the playlist under Wire, you know, the Masterclass Wire. We will, you can watch this again and again. It'll be timestamped so you can go right to the technique that you want to go to. I do want to tell you, let's talk about some of the things that I've got on offer today. Do remember, let's do this over here. Find us on all of our socials, Facebook, Insta, Pinterest. Like and subscribe, notification. Put that comment in there because we've got a contest going on now. I'll put that screen up next. Hit us up at beadshop.com if you have any questions, and tag us on, hit us up at info@beadshop.com. Tag us across all socials at beadshop.com. Hit that share, like button. The more that this video gets out to other people that dig this content, the higher we'll get in those algorithms. It's all about the algorithm, right? Remember to, today only, use that coupon code WIRE30 and you are going to get, let me see here. Let me put a little space in between enter and WIRE30. There we go. Sorry about that. Enter WIRE30 at checkout on beadshop.com. You'll save 30% on all wire in stock plus memory wire. Okay. We are also running out for more YouTube subscribers. We know that you love watching us on live. A lot of you watch us on Facebook, but on our YouTube channel, there are more than 900 inspiring videos that we've got on there. We need about 10,000 more subscribers to reach 100,000 on YouTube. And if you comment on this video, live or replay, or next Saturday's video, live or replay, you will be entered to win one of our $25 gift certificates. Comments will be collected from August 17th through 7th through 13th, 2024, on the August 7th and August 9th live shows and the YouTube replays. Existing subscribers, you can also leave a comment. Just because you've been a subscriber for this long doesn't mean you're going to get penalized, so you'll be entered in the giveaway. And I'm going to announce the winner on the third Thursday earring show on 8/15/24. Okay. So that is what I've got for you today. Let me take this off here. Whew. I hope you enjoyed all of our masterclass stuff for today. It's a good entry. Kattni, yes, I am going to, when we make some more advanced techniques, I'm going to show you how to make the ball head pins. I'm going to get the torch out. We're going to make some ball head pins, I promise, in this series. It's going to be later on. Okay. We're also going to do some hammering with that as well. On Friday, for Free Tip Friday, Emily's going to be with me. She is making a beaded bead to die for, my friends. It's really gorgeous. So I'm going to be here on Friday with Emily. Next week, it's the week before the bead retreat. Emily will be here Friday, but Cynthia from Green Girl and her most excellent daughter, Azalea, we have a really great show. Cynthia's going to be with me on Wednesday. We're going to have a really fun product drop. We're going to be doing some pop-in lives all week, so stay tuned to the newsletter. Stay tuned to our socials because it's all going to be there. Okay, so Cynthia and Azalea will be here next week. And then we slide right into the bead retreat. So that will be coming up. That's next weekend. I'll try and go live from the bead retreat. The connection up there is kind of spotty, but I promise to take a bunch of pictures so you can see what's happening. I'm going to see some of you. We've got a full house. We've got 23 of you coming, I think, plus Cynthia and me and Azalea and Janice. Emily's staying home this time. We're going to really miss her. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So we've got a lot coming up for you. So, my friends, that is it. I do see a lot of new viewers here today. So thank you so much for being here. You know, my friends, without you out there supporting our small business here at beadshop.com, we could not do it without you. So a lot of love right out to you. I'll see you Friday with Emily. Until that time, use that coupon code WIRE30. Leave those comments to be entered in our $25 gift certificate giveaways. And I will see you on Friday, my darlings. Thank you so much. Have fun with Wire. Talk to you soon.